It's up to you, New York, New York.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, riding solo on this glorious Friday morning. Orange and blue skies, New York Knickerbockers getting it done in the ATL last night, and I couldn't be prouder. This had to be the biggest contrast of anything that I think most NBA fans could have expected in such an intense series. And it's hard to believe that Atlanta actually had the lead in this series through 3 games, where the Knicks had a real gut check to have to get out of there during game 4. I said yesterday at a short that I kind of regretted not putting together a bigger ticket for the Knicks, because I had the biggest hunch that OG Anunoby and Josh Hart were going to be the 2 leading scorers of the game, and ultimately they were. The biggest lead in the history of the NBA playoffs last night, a 47-point lead. To put it in perspective, I stopped at my local Publix to grab something real quick. The game was only a 5-point deficit. When I came out of Publix, which is literally across the street from my house, the Knicks were up by almost 50, and I was just like mind blown. I couldn't believe that my little 15 or 20-minute trip into Publix turned into that. The most stress-free elimination game I have ever seen in the history of my life of being a Knicks fan, which spans back to 1992. The Hawks just caught the Knicks literally on the wrong day, as the end of their season is not indicative of the kind of year that they had. They finished 10 games over 500. At one point, they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference earlier in the year. Landry Fields has done a good job of putting that roster together, and the Hawks should be proud of themselves, and I expect them to continue to ascend in the NBA in years to come. But this is a Knicks team that I think was really sending a message out to not only the rest of the league, but to themselves, because I think internally they were very disappointed with their game 2 result, where they blew that 14-point lead. But personally, I think the momentum switched when the Knicks made that mammoth comeback in game 3. Although they lost by a point, CJ McCollum with the big bucket and a sloppy transition between Jalen Brunson trying to get a shot, and then ultimately Josh Hart not being able to field the pass from Jalen Brunson. It was just a sloppy possession. But pretty much since that 4th quarter of game 3, the Knicks have been the better team, and it hasn't even been close. Now they wait, because the Philadelphia 76ers are trying to do something that would put them in a rare place, coming back from a 3-1 deficit as they force a game 7 with the Boston Celtics. I have some comments here. I'm going to put them up. Here we go, Nunez. Yes, sir. It is a good morning. Running a little late to my less fun job, but I'm not really stressing it. Can't fly over the FedEx truck, I'll tell you that. Congrats. Yeah, man. Um, you and I spoke briefly last night after the games, and I do believe that your Lakers are definitely catching a blessing with Kevin Durant not returning tonight. Will he return for a game seven if there's a game seven? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But despite being on the road, the Lakers have proven that they can play in Houston, even going back to the regular season when they won that two-game set during the same week in Houston. And that was with a healthy KD, who they were able to almost completely shut out in the second half. But I expect the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets to be a really good game tonight. I expect it to be a dogfight, quite honestly. Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons. It's a closeout game if the Magic get business done. And I said it yesterday, I'll say it again here. If the Orlando Magic do not win game six, they are not going to win that series. And I expect the Detroit Pistons to bring everything they've got, the full arsenal. But besides the absolute shock of how uncompetitive last night's Knicks-Hawks game was, I would have to say that the biggest surprise and the best feel-good story of the first round, undeniably, has to be the Minnesota Timberwolves eliminating the incredible Nikola Jokic and his Denver Nuggets. Take into consideration this is a T Wolves team without the services of sharpshooter Dante DiVincenzo and all-world NBA superstar Anthony Edwards. They were able to do that. Very intense game last night. Truthfully, it kind of gave me the old school NBA vibes. It almost felt like an East Coast old school NBA game. But shouts out to the Minnesota Timberwolves for just really digging deep and showing that you don't always need your stars to win, that there are guys in a rotation for a reason, and there are guys that stay ready for these moments when they have a expanded role. As Denver goes, I believe that it's a lot of questions over the summer, reevaluating what they got to do to get back to the top of the NBA mountain, which they have not been able to do since defeating the Miami Heat a few years back. Nikola Jokic ends another phenomenal season, but in Denver, I believe that they're going to need to bring in a little more help for Jokic. As the T-Wolves go, it's far from an ideal matchup in the second round, and I don't believe the T-Wolves will go far. But I am proud and happy for former New York Knick Julius Randle, a player that I'm forever indebted to because Julius Randle made it cool to want to play for the Knicks again. Julius Randle was the first guy that helped turn around the winning culture in terms of one of the guys on the roster. And Julius Randle, while I think it was the right move to send he and Dante DiVincenzo to Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns, the Knicks do not change everything without Julius Randle. And even a guy like a Jalen Brunson. I don't think Jalen Brunson would have found the Knicks as attractive of a destination if Julius Randle wasn't the first guy to really put some bricks down and make it an appealing place for players to go. Because for a very long time, the Knicks always struck out on the top tier free agents, and take into consideration, Jalen Brunson was not considered a top flight player when he left Dallas, as Stephen A. Smith and many others criticized that move when the Knicks brought him in. And now you fast forward, and he's still young into the Knick part of his career. He may very well go down as the greatest Knick of all time if he can deliver a championship. Now, of course, you have guys like the incomparable Walt Clyde Frazier, Patrick Ewing, the late, great Willis Reed. Brunson still has a lot of work to do to jump those guys for all-time greatest Knick, but he is well on his way. My predictions for tonight's ball games, I'll put it to you like this. I am rooting for the Orlando Magic. I want them to close out the Detroit Pistons. However, I got the Pistons winning a close one in O-Town. I hope I'm wrong, but give me the Detroit Pistons by a score of 106-98. I got the Pistons winning on Orlando's home floor for the first time in this series and ultimately forcing a game 7. As the Lakers and Rockets go, I expect a fierce competition, a very close game, but I am going to take the Lakers with a narrow victory here, 103-100. I would like to see that series go 7. I would like to see Kevin Durant come back. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that this is going on right now. And I'm not going to lie. Anybody who watches my show knows that I'm not a LeBron James fan. But I would like to see LeBron James be the first player to have a 3-0 lead and go down. That sounds toxic, I guess. But I'm just tired of this damn GOAT debate. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to get into a whole GOAT diatribe today. But I'm just beyond frustrated with that GOAT debate that just never seems to go away on social media. I think LeBron James has a great place in NBA history. I think LeBron James is a great player. I think LeBron James has accomplished an awful lot. But I've seen them all play. Well, not like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. I ain't that old. But I've seen Magic Johnson. I've seen Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've seen Michael Jordan. You know, I've seen my fair share of great NBA players. I've seen Kobe. I've seen Tim Duncan. And everything after, Shaquille O'Neal, you know. And I'm sorry. I think in order to be the GOAT, you have to dominate on the level of winning just as much as you have to dominate stat sheets. And, you know, no matter how you slice it and no matter what narratives people want to draw about LeBron not having the best coach or whatever, kind of hard to have the best coach when you consistently move as a mercenary. Having said all that, still a phenomenal talent. Incredible possibility that he's the greatest small forward to ever play the game. I do believe that, you know, because of longevity, he may have very well surpassed Larry Bird, because longevity does matter. But one thing that I like to pitch at people when they talk about who the GOAT is that for forever and ever, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the most points scored in NBA history. Behind him was Karl Malone for a good while at number 2. I never went to a bar or ever approached a sports conversation and had anyone say, hey, man, Karl Malone is the GOAT, as they have with LeBron when LeBron was trailing Kareem. And I'm not saying that it's just indicated off of points. LeBron is a supreme talent that has a lot of versatility. But so was Magic Johnson. Last time I checked, Magic Johnson did a lot more in 12 years than LeBron did in his first 12. Magic Johnson has done more winning in his 12 years than LeBron has done in 2 decades. You have a lot of Jordan haters that'll be like, oh, what about the other 9 seasons? Well, for one, 2 of them were when he was clearly out of his prime after 2 previous retirements. And I'm still waiting for the LeBron three-peat. Jordan did that twice. Kobe and Shaq did that once. Those are the only 2 teams in my lifetime that have three-peated. I still think LeBron is a top 5 talent all time, and I still think LeBron will be missed when he moves on from the league. He might even be appreciated more. But my biggest thing when I talk about GOATs is there was minimal eating by others on the Jordan and Magic Johnson watches. That's where I rest my case on that. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a top 3 all-time player. I do think that sometimes he and Magic Johnson cancel each other out because of their dual greatness. But back to the playoffs. Yeah, I got Detroit winning this series in 7. I hope I'm wrong. I'm pulling for Orlando. I think the Sixers and Celtics, I haven't really decided who's going to win that game 7. But I will say that all the momentum is on Philly's side, and that has to be troubling and worrisome if you are the Boston Celtics. Since Joel Embiid has reinserted himself with the Philadelphia 76ers, they have been playing really good basketball, and that's a little scary. As a Knicks fan, I don't have a preference with who I play. I feel that either team presents a lot of challenges to the Knicks, but I do believe in my heart, soul, and brain that the Knicks will beat either the Philadelphia 76ers or the Boston Celtics. But going to be exciting. Definitely going to be exciting to see how this goes. It would be hilarious if Orlando does somehow win this series, knock out the 1 seed, and eventually make the Eastern Conference Championship. Because going way back to late October, I predicted the New York Knicks and the Orlando Magic to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just didn't have it cooked up that the Magic would be a play-in team and have to do it the hard way and have to face the best team in the East to get things going. But the playoffs truly are a second season, and you never know what's going to happen. You know, seeing Minnesota defeat Denver yesterday was shocking to me, considering the injuries. Seeing the New York Knicks completely obliterate the Atlanta Hawks on their home floor, that was also quite shocking to me. I felt the Knicks were going to win the game, but I certainly didn't think they were going to run them over like that. And that's the thing, you know, the beauty of the playoffs, the postseason, pretty much in any sport, is that you never truly know what you're going to witness. But as we learned yesterday, history can happen on any given night, and it definitely happened in Atlanta. Announcements to come for my next show. I had a little time to burn as I was here stuck in traffic. Now we're finally moving a little. But if you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Check out my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, Big Bosco Productions on Bandcamp, B-A-N-D Camp. This man dropped 3 albums in the past couple of months. He's been grinding on his craft. Very proud of my co-host Idris doing his thing. Check out our friends at the Casual Combo Show every Monday and Wednesday nights, 8 to 10 p.m. And check out our guy, Johnny Nast. He has a ton of stuff going on, from the Sports Corner to the Basement Show with Mr. Nast. You can see that on all streaming platforms as well. And check out friend of the show, Mr. Sneaky G, a New York Giants-based podcast. One of the biggest Giant fans you'll ever run into, and he lives out in Dallas, so you know that he's always getting involved with many a football conversation, and always approaching it with a lot of Dallas fans. As you know, Texas is more than, it's a culture. Football's a culture in Texas, all the way back from high school up. Big football state is Texas. But yes, announcements to come for our next show, and we're going to keep bringing you nonstop coverage, takeaways as these NBA playoffs continue to move. And anything that new that's hitting, we're going to be hitting on. Also, of course, going to be bringing you tons of baseball coverage. New York Yankees back at it today after a very good road trip. They will be hosting the Baltimore. Longtime Mets first baseman, franchise leader for the Mets in home runs, now trying to help the Orioles turn their fortunes around as they've been off to a mixed bag of a start. Have a great Friday, everyone. Do your best to enjoy today, and then just make the best of the weekend. I wish everybody a prosperous Friday. I'm out.